On February 4th, Fadi, a known activist, snuck out of his home. He had to sneak, he tells us, because his home had been surrounded by neighbors who had turned against him. The details he offers about what happened after that are chilling.
10 minutes later, I was stopped at a civilian checkpoint. They asked for my ID, searched my laptop, and found pictures from the Tahrir protests. I was handed over to the military police, and they instantly began beating me and electrocuting me. In the morning, I was accused of being a spy for Facebook. It was difficult to explain to them that Facebook isn't a party or an individual that one could spy for. Once my glasses came off, I couldn't see anything. The beating I was receiving was unimaginable.
It's been just over a week and there's still scarring here, 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 here. And like he was said, he was being beaten, electrocuted all through on his entire body. His wrists bear scars. Some 56 hours after he says his torment began, he says an officer apologized and then released him. Do you want to see those that did this to you tried or held accountable?
The institution, the people are only following orders, and they're ignorant.
Others are not so forgiving.
I think those who are responsible for these actions should be brought to justice.
Maysara does not want to be filmed as he shares his ordeal, but he agrees to have his photograph taken. He says he was also picked up on February 4th, describing a day of peaceful protests, until, he says, he ran into a pro-Mubarak crowd.
They identified me, realized that I was not one of them, and handed me to a very young person in military uniform who took me to a very small police station. And there they looked into my bag and found several papers. They started beating me and they tied my hands behind my back.
Maysara says that he was then strangely brought here on this street that runs in front of the Hilton, used as a base by many members of the media. On that day at 4 p.m., he tells us that there were no press or civilians around, just the troops. He was dragged down this road into a building and then interrogated once again.
The soldier started beating me with his rifle. It's military, so he was fully in military uniform.
He says he was eventually released, only to be picked up by another unit.
A group of 6 or 7 soldiers made like a semicircle around me and started beating me for at least half an hour, non-stop.
Were you crying out at this stage, trying to rationalize with them, trying to make it end?
Yes, I was, at this moment in particular, when the beating was really hard, I was trying to speak to them and tell them that that was inhumane.
He was then told he would be taken to a hospital.
Indeed, they took me in an ambulance. Inside the ambulance I saw a nurse, but I was guarded by 2 soldiers. The ambulance started moving and the soldiers started beating me inside the ambulance.
He was taken to the museum, the same museum in Tahrir Square, guarded by soldiers who were hailed as protectors of the peace. Inside, he says, the beatings continued. The military has pledged to bring about an end to arbitrary detentions and to uphold human rights. But Human Rights Watch says that while allegations like these are not systematic, they are very worrying.
It's important to publicize these cases, and this is an important role that the human rights community can play, is to sound alarm bells when it comes to the role of the military in overseeing the transition and in overseeing a break from the abusive practices of the Ministry of Interior.
And that is exactly what both men warn, that the military must eliminate these practices, or they will lose the trust of the people and face a head-on confrontation. Arwa Damon, CNN, Cairo.